Hi, hello students. Welcome to Indian Tech Guru for you. Let us move on to the next topic. The next topic is complex instruction set computer CISC. Complex instruction set computer CISC. So basically there are two different types of computers based on the instruction set. So the first category is complex instruction set computer. Another category is RISC. RISC means reduced instruction set computer. So first let us discuss about the complex instruction set computer, and then we'll be moving on to reduced instruction set computer. So as far as the complex instruction set computer is concerned, there will be huge number of instructions as well as a huge number of addressing modes. So that's why the user can directly map the high level language program coding into the machine code or assembly code by using these instructions. For example, there is a statement such as C is equal to A plus B in C language, then there will be an equivalent assembly language mnemonic in a complex instruction set computer such as add L1, L2, L3. So which is having the meaning of adding the content of memory location L1 with memory location L2 and store the content in memory location L3. So which is a direct implementation of the high level language code, that is single line is implemented in a single line assembly code. So such statements will be available in case of the complex instruction set computer. Here you can see that we are directly accessing the content from the memory location. We are not using registers and directly storing the contents inside of the memory location. So coming to the examples of the CISC architecture, there are two different computers which are going to implement the CISC architecture. They are Digital Equipment Corporation's VAX computer and IBM 370 computer. So these two are the examples of the computers that are going to implement the CISC architecture. So coming to the characteristics of the CISC architecture, so as we have seen, it will be having direct implementations for the high level language code such as add L1, L2, L3. So which is going to perform the operations directly from the memory locations. So however, to implement such operations we need several memory cycles. Here we can see an instruction like this takes 3 memory access cycles to execute. So already we know that the main memory is slower than register memory. So during the execution of the instruction, if there are memory access operations, then definitely the execution of the instruction will be slowed down. So that's why that makes for potentially very long instruction execution cycles. So the implementation of the CISC architecture, so is going to take the execution of the instruction very long time. So coming to the major characteristics of the CISC architecture, there will be a large number of instructions, typically from 100 to 250 instructions will be there. So whereas in basic computer we have seen very limited instructions. So in case of the CISC computer, there will be 100 to 250 instructions. Similarly, among these instructions, some of the instructions are going to perform the specialized tasks. For every specialized operation also there will be a specific instruction in CISC computers. And a large variety of addressing modes will be there, typically ranging from 5 to 20. 5 to 20 addressing modes will be there. and we have seen in the last class some of the addressing modes. And the instruction format is variable length. That is very important. The instruction format is not fixed. So previously we have seen a 16-bit instruction format. Now, however, the instruction format is variable length. That is why it may be 16 bits, it may be 32 bit, it may be 64 bit according to the necessity. And the instructions are going to directly manipulate with the operands in the memory. Here we have seen to perform the addition operation, directly we are going to access the content from memory location and perform the addition operation. Like that, each and every instruction will have manipulations with the operands in the memory. That's why it will take more time, and it needs long instruction execution cycles. So these are the characteristics of the CISC architecture. So because of these characteristics, CISC architecture will have these drawbacks also. The problems with CISC computers are the complexity of the design may slow down the processor. So as we have seen, the design is very complex and there are huge number of instructions available. So that's why it is going to slow down the processor. The execution will take more time. The complexity of the design may result in costly errors in the processor design and implementation. So it is very difficult to design the processor also, because plenty of instructions we need to define. So to implement those instructions we need hardware circuits related to those instructions. So to design such hardware circuits, it takes very complexity. That's why it may sometimes lead to errors. And we have seen that there will be 100 to 250 instructions and there will be 5 to 20 addressing modes available. However, some of these instructions or many of these instructions or many of these addressing modes may not be used at all, even though there are plenty of instructions are there. So many of these instructions may not be used at all. Even that is why it is not necessary to define such a huge number of instructions. So these are the drawbacks of the CISC architecture. So to avoid these drawbacks, we will be defining the reduced instruction set computers, RISC. So in the late 70s, that is after 1970 and before 1980, to reduce the shortcomings of the CISC style of processors, the RISC type of computers have been introduced, so which are having a very less number of instruction set. So and it is going to reduce the instruction execution time. So that is very important. So to reduce the instruction execution time. So coming to the features of the reduced instruction set computer. So here you can see the features. Very few instructions will be there. The number of instructions available are very less. Few addressing modes will be there. Only load and store instructions are used to access the memory. We cannot directly access the memory from the operation code itself, that is from the mnemonic. Initially we have to load the content and preserve the content in the processor registers. So that's why we need plenty of processors. So all other operations are done using the on processor registers. So there will be huge number of processor registers. And another important is fixed length instructions. So every instruction, let it be arithmetic instruction, let it be logical instruction, let it be any other instruction, all the instructions will have fixed length instruction formats. And the execution of the instruction will be carried out in a single cycle. In one single cycle, the execution will be carried out. That is why it will be faster to complete the execution. and very importantly, the control unit is hardwired. We have seen what is meant by hardwired control in the previous classes. We have seen logic control gates, how to design the logic control gates for the address register, for the accumulator register. So these logic control gates are going to control the operation of various registers. So if the implementation is a hardwired implementation, definitely it will be faster compared to the micro programmed control. However, we have not seen what is meant by micro programmed control. We will see in the next chapter. So what is meant by micro programmed control? So in case of the hardwired control, we are going to implement the logic in the hardware circuits, the logic gates in the hardware circuits, whereas in case of the micro programmed control, we will be controlling the operations by writing a simple program in assembly code. So how we are going to do, we will discuss in the next chapter. So this micro programmed control will be used by CISC architecture, complex instruction set computer architecture. So these are the features of the RISC computer. So all these features will help in the faster execution of the instructions. So coming to some of the other features, since all but the load and store instructions use only registers for operands, only a few addressing modes are needed. Because much of the operations are carried out using only the registers, the number of addressing modes needed will be very less. And because the instruction format length is same for all of the instructions, definitely it will be easier and faster to read the instructions. Similarly, the fetch and decode stages are simple, looking much more like a basic computer than a CISC machine. So the fetch and decode stages are going to implement in very few cycles, very few clock cycles. That's why, so it will be faster. And the instructions as well as the addressing formats are designed to be easy to decode. So because the instruction format is fixed, we can decode the instructions very fastly and easily. So unlike the variable length CISC instructions, the opcode and register fields of the RISC instructions can be decoded simultaneously. So once again, the same logic, because the instruction format length is fixed, we can decode the RISC instructions, that is, we can decode the operation code as well as the register field simultaneously at the same time. So the control logic of the RISC processor is designed to be simple and fast. The control logic is simple because of the small number of instructions and simple addressing modes. The number of instructions will be very less, as well as the addressing modes will also be very less. And the control logic is hardwired, as we discussed. Hardwired control will be faster compared to the micro-programmed control. So in case of RISC computers, we are going to use the hardwired control. In case of the CISC computers, we are going to use the micro-programmed control. So hardwired control is definitely faster. And the main advantage of RISC computers is plenty of registers available for various operations. So as we have simplified the number of instructions as well as the addressing modes, there will be space available on the chip of the RISC computer to accommodate huge number of registers. So this extra capacity is used to pipeline instruction execution, to speed up the instruction execution, add a large number of registers to the CPU. So there will be large number of registers in case of the RISC computers, as well as we can perform pipeline instruction execution. So then what is meant by pipeline instruction execution? So pipeline instruction execution is a parallel execution. We are going to perform the execution in parallel. So actually, in case of the execution of a particular instruction, what are the different cycles available? there will be fetch, decode and execute phases. Fetch, decode and execute phases available. Now what we are going to do is, we are going to perform multiple instructions cycles, multiple instructions phases in parallel using the pipelining concept. So pipelining is the use of the processor to work on different phases of multiple instructions in parallel. How we are going to do? Let us see. So as far as the pipelining is concerned, how we are going to do is, for example, assume that there are three different instructions. Instruction I is there. To execute instruction I, what are the operations we need to perform? Assume that we need to perform fetch operation, and then decode operation, and then execute operation. Okay. Similarly, instruction J is there. So instruction J started after the fetch cycle of instruction I. Then instruction J also require fetch phase, decode phase and execute phase. Next, instruction K. So assume that instruction K started after the fetch phase of instruction J, then it needs a fetch phase, decode phase and execute phase. So this is one clock cycle. This is another cycle. This is another cycle. This is another cycle, and this is another cycle. So here you can see the different phases of three different instructions will be executed in a particular same cycle. Here you can see, in this particular cycle, executing instruction I is carried out, decoding instruction J is carried out, and fetching instruction K from memory is carried out. Three different operations of three different instructions are carried out in a single cycle. So that concept is known as pipelining. That concept is known as pipelining. So it is very, very important concept. Pipelining is nothing but parallel execution of the different phases of different instructions. So this is possible only in RISC computers. This is not possible in CISC computers. So that's why RISC is very popularly implemented. All the latest current computers are going to use the RISC architecture rather than the CISC architecture. Now you can see the difference. If you execute individually the I instruction, it needs 3 clock cycles. J instruction needs 3 clock cycles. K instruction needs 3 clock cycles. So totally how many clock cycles needed? 9 clock cycles are needed. However, if you implement the pipelining concept, then how many cycles are needed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Only 5 clock cycles are needed. So you can see the reduction in clock cycles, so which is going to improve the processor efficiency. So within a single clock cycle, we are going to perform different phases of different instructions, so which is called as pipelined execution. So using the pipelined execution, we are going to improve the processor speed and the execution speed of the instructions. So in all the present day modern processors, you have the pipelined execution as an integral part. So because we are implementing the pipelining concept, so processors are going to execute the instructions very fastly. That is about the pipelining concept. The next concept is overlapped register windows. Overlapped register windows. So as we have discussed, in case of the RISC computers, there will be huge number of registers available So using these registers, so we are going to perform the various operations. So however, if you consider a particular program, a high level program, how a high level program will be implemented, generally there will be a main function. If you consider a C program, generally there will be a main function and there will be function 1, function 2, function 3 and so on. Okay. So the main program will contain the main logic of the program, and function 1 may have a subtask, function 2 may have a subtask, function 3 may have a subtask and so on. Okay. So assume that we are designing a banking application. So this is the main function which is going to implement the banking software, and function 1 will implement the deposit function. Function 2 will implement the withdrawal function, and function 3 will implement the check balance function. Okay. So deposit, withdraw and check balance. Here if you keenly observe, the main program needs to interact with all of the three functions: deposit function, withdraw function, check balance function. And the deposit function is going to interact with the check balance function. After the deposit is completed, it needs to check the balance, whether the balance has been updated or not. Similarly, after the withdrawal operation, so we need to check the balance. So that is why there is a relationship between the functions and between the main function and the other functions also. Okay. So that's why here we need to bifurcate the number of registers available and allocate the number of registers to all of the different functions as well as the main function. So some of the functions may need shared registers also. That is why it is called as overlapped register windows. Okay. So what are the different categories of registers? Now we can bifurcate. We can bifurcate them as global registers. Global registers are available to all of the functions. Okay. So some of the registers are called as global registers, which can be shared by main program, function 1, function 2, function 3 and so on. And another type of registers are window local registers. Window local registers are variables local to a particular function. They will be specific to either function 1, specific to either function 2, specific to either function 3. And window shared registers. So window shared registers are going to permit data to be shared. So between two functions. As we discussed, there will be sharing between deposit and check balance. There will be sharing of registers between withdrawal and check balance. So they are called as window shared registers. So only one register window is active at any time. So at any time we may active only one particular register. So that is, at any time we can execute either the deposit or the withdrawal or the check balance function. We cannot execute all of the functions at the same time. When a function is called, a new register window is activated. For example, if from the main function, function 2 is called, then function 2 window will be active. So when a function calls a new function, the high numbered registers of the calling function window are shared with the called function. So for example, if the deposit function calls the check balance function, then the registers, window shared registers will be shared between the deposit as well as the check balance. So like this, we are going to implement the overlap register window. We will see a diagram which is going to show you the sharing of the registers so that you can better understand. So here you can see the sharing of the registers, overlap registers. Here how many windows are there? Procedure A, this is the first window. Procedure B, window 2 procedure C, window 3 procedure D, window 4. Total how many windows are there? 4 windows are there. 4 windows means 4 different functions. Okay, maybe procedure A may be main function, procedure B may be function 1, procedure C may be function 2, procedure D may be function 3. Like that you need to assume. Okay. So coming to the procedure A, procedure A can share data with procedure D as well as procedure B. So that's why some of the registers will be local to procedure A. So what are the local registers? R16 to R25. Total 10 registers. 10 registers are local to each and every procedure. So for procedure A, 10 registers are local. For procedure B, these 10 registers are local. For procedure C, from R48 to R57, these 10 registers are local. For procedure D, R64 to R73, these registers are local. So these are all local to specific procedure. So I have already told you that the names are interdependent, that is we can call a subtask as a subroutine or subtask or procedure or function. Okay, we can call it as with any name. So previously we discussed functions, because in C language we need to call them as functions. Generally we can call them as procedures. Okay, procedures, functions, both are same, don't be confused. Okay, so now these are all the local to D. So in addition to that, there will be overlapping registers, so window shared registers. So from R10 to R15, so 6 registers are shared between A and D. Similarly, from R26 to R31, 6 registers are shared between A and B. From R42 to R47, 6 registers are shared between B and C. From R58 to R63, 6 registers are shared between C and D. So these are the shared windows, shared registers between two windows. And in addition to that, there will be global registers from R0 to R9. So which are common to all the procedures. It is very important. Any procedure can use these global registers. Okay. So nothing but in case of C language, we have seen global variables, local variables, as well as static variables. So now here we can observe that the global variables are equivalent to global registers. Local variables are equivalent to local registers, and static variables are equivalent to common registers between two procedures. Okay. So like this, we are going to implement the shared window registers. Okay. So totally how many registers are there from R0 to R73? Total 74 registers are there. 74 registers are there. Okay. So now using these registers, you can calculate the window size. So here L represents local, C represents common, and G represents global. So if you symbolize like that, then we can find out the window size. We can find out the window size of each window using the formula L plus 2C plus G. So what is the G value in the previous diagram? G is 10. What is the L value? L is 10 registers we are having. So what is C value? C is the common registers are 6. So we can find out the total, the window size. What is L? L is plus 10 plus 2 into 6 plus G is 10. So that is totally 32 registers. So we are going to use 32 registers for each window. 32 registers for each window. 10 local registers, 10 global registers, and 12 common registers. So 6 registers are shared with the lower window and 6 registers are shared with upper window. For example, if you consider procedure A, 6 registers are shared with procedure D and 6 registers are shared with procedure B. Like this we are going to implement. So we can calculate the window size. The window size has 32 registers. Similarly, the total number of registers needed in the processor register is a register file. So now we can calculate the size of the register, the total number of registers using the formula L plus C into W plus G. So L plus C into W plus G. So what is L? 10. What is C value? 6. What is W? So total how many windows are there? 4 windows are there. Procedure A, procedure B, procedure C, procedure D. Plus G, global 10. 16 fours, 64. 64 plus 10, that is equal to 74. 74 total number of registers are there. Like this we can calculate the window size as well as the register file. Total number of registers we have used. So in the previous diagram we have seen that total 74 registers we have used, among which each window will utilize 32 registers, among which 10 global registers as well as 12 common registers and 10 local registers. So window size is 4 because we have considered 4 procedures: procedure A, procedure B, procedure C, procedure D. So like this we can calculate the number of registers in overlapped register window. So that was about the RISC computer. Coming to the case study, one of the implementation of RISC architecture is Berkeley RISC-1. Berkeley RISC-1. So in this particular implementation, so let us see how it is implementing the RISC architecture. So it will use 32-bit integrated circuit CPU, 32-bit address. So the address is 32-bit size, and as far as data is concerned, 8-bit data, 16-bit data, 32-bit data is there. And the instruction format is fixed 32-bit instruction format it is going to use. So total 31 instructions will be there. So 3 addressing modes will be there, only 3 addressing modes. So we discussed that in case of the RISC, the number of instructions are less, as well as the number of addressing modes will also be less. So it will use only 3 addressing modes: register addressing mode, immediate addressing mode, and PC relative addressing mode. So what are these addressing modes? How to implement? We discussed in the previous classes. So if you are not familiar, go through the previous videos. So 138 registers totally, it contains 138 registers, among which 10 global registers and 8 windows will be there. So each window will contain 32 registers each. So 32 into 8. So these many number of windows will be there. So because each particular window is going to share some of the registers, some of the common registers will be there. So we need to calculate using the formula, using the previous formula. So how these 138 registers will be shared. So you cannot calculate 32 into 8 because among these 32 registers, some of the common registers will be there. Okay, around 12 common registers will be there. 12 common registers and 10 local registers and 10 global registers will be there. Okay, so the shared register window will be same as previous. However, instead of using 4 windows, now we are using 8 windows. So coming to the instruction format of the Berkeley RISC-1. So here the 3 different instruction formats are there. The size is fixed. What is the size? 32 bits. So as far as the register mode is concerned, if the addressing mode is register mode, then so the instruction format will be looking like this. So S2 specifies a register. S2 specifies a particular register from bits 5 to 12 not used in the register mode, not required, and RS represents the source register, RD represents the destination register, opcode represents the operation code. Opcode represents the operation code. 0 represents this 0 represents we are using register mode. We are using register mode. Okay. So from 0 to 4, S2 register will be there. From 5 to 12, the bits are not used. 13th bit will specify which addressing mode we are using. So 0 represents the register mode, RS represents the source register, RD represents the destination register, opcode represents the operation code. So total 31 instructions are there. Among these 31 instructions, so it is going to get a particular instruction. Next, register immediate mode. The instruction format for register immediate mode, if you consider. So now S2, the register will contain 0 to 12 bits, 13 bits. 13 bits will be occupied by register S2. Why we are using 13 bits? Because in case of the register immediate mode, the operand will be residing within the instruction format. So S2 is itself is an operand. Okay, is an operand. So here 1 represents we are using the register immediate mode. RS represents source register. RD represents destination register. Opcode represents the operation code. So coming to the PC relative mode. PC relative mode from 0 to 18. From 0 to 18. So it will represent the Y register. So from 19 to 23. So it will represent the condition code, and from 24 to 31 it will represent the operation code. So in PC relative mode, how we are going to get the effective address? Effective address is equal to actual address plus program counter. Actual address from program counter. Like this we are going to get the effective address. So for this purpose we will be using the address as Y, and condition code from 19 to 23, and then opcode from 24 to 31. This is the instruction format as far as the PC relative mode is concerned. So these are the different types of instruction formats for register mode, register immediate mode, as well as PC relative mode in case of the Berkeley RISC-V. So coming to the instruction set of Berkeley RISC-V is concerned. So here you can see plenty, total 31 instructions. We have discussed 31 instructions will be there. So coming to the data manipulation instructions, so add operation. So add operation is performed with three registers, RS, S2 and RD. RD means destination register. Destination register assignment, source register plus S2. So next you will have add with carry, you will have integer subtraction, you will have subtraction with carry, you will have subtract reverse, you will have subtract with carry, you will have AND operation, you will have OR operation, logical AND operation, logical OR operation, logical exclusive OR operation, you will have shift operation, shift left operation, shift right operation, you will have shift right arithmetic operation. And coming to the data transfer instructions, so just we need to know what are the instructions available in Berkeley RISC-V. So coming to the data transfer instructions, we'll have load long instruction, load short unsigned instruction, load short signed instruction, load byte unsigned instruction. So how the operation is carried out? The operation is carried out in the same fashion. However, the implementation will be different. Here we are going to use unsigned, here we are going to use signed value, here we are going to use the byte unsigned value, here we are going to use the byte signed value. However, the operation is same. What is the operation? Load. Load byte signed, load immediate high, store long, store short, store byte, load status word. Status word, we have discussed about the status word. So different types of values that will be stored in the status word. Overflow flag, for overflow flag, so as well as for carry flag, for zero flag. So we discussed what are the values, how we are going to put the values for these status word. Put PSW, set status word, load status word and set status word. These are the data transfer instructions available in Berkeley RISC-V. And finally, so we need some program control instructions. So these are the program control instructions available in Berkeley RISC-V. So jump, conditional jump, jump, relative jump, jump R means relative jump, call means call subroutine and change window, call R means call relative and change window, RET means return and change window, call interrupt means call int means call interrupt procedure, return INT means return from the interrupt procedure, GTL PC means get last program counter value, get last program counter value. Okay. So these are the how the register transfer is performed has been given here. So as far as the conditional jump is concerned, PC will be assigned to source register content plus S2 content. Source register content plus S2 content. So these are the various instruction set operations of Berkeley RISC-V. So just you need to remember the operations. What are the operations and what are the operands needed? What is the opcode? What are the operands needed? So how the register transfer is performed, and then description. You need to remember. So you need not to remember elaborately how the operation is carried out. Just in your examination, they may ask about write the instruction set of Berkeley RISC-V. Then you have to write all of these 31 different instructions, and you have to make a table and give the representation for opcode, operands, register transfer and description. So this is the case study of RISC implementation. So with this we have successfully completed the third unit. The third unit is having only one chapter, that is central processing unit. So we have covered literally all of the topics from starting to ending. Hope you understand the logic. That's all for now.